All right, so
Wait,
we'll,
did Bob sign in, Sharon? Sharon,
No.
you're muted. Usually he'll tell her.
I haven't heard from Bob.
Oh, you didn't?
Okay.
Okay.
all right, well, we'll get started at 6:32 according to my computer. And we'll jump right into the OPM update. And Craig, as a heads up, I'm going to defer to you to go through those invoices when the time
Absolutely. I have them.
comes. Okay, thank you. Sam and
Great.
Eric, all yours.
Thank you, Joel. If it's okay, I'll share my screen. I believe, actually, I need somebody to give me rights. Ben,
Yep.
Stan.
I'm promoting you right now. Let me find you.
Just go to the bottom of the screen.
Thank you, Steve.
There's no one sharing the screen right now, so you should be able to.
He's got to give me rights. There we go. All right.
Steve,
And
that's
this should have been issued by Sharon earlier. So I think everybody had received an electronic copy of this earlier today.
Yes.
Great. So only one remaining and still remaining item on permitting. We're still going back and forth with RIDOT. One item will be the certificate of bond from the actual trade contractor. And then we are still going back and forth on some surveying activities regarding the loop detectors that have to go on the opposite side of the street. Eric, I think as of this morning, we didn't have any additional update on that timing yet. Is that correct?
That is correct, Sam.
Okay. So that remains an outstanding item. Right now, it has not been in the critical path, but we are trying to just lock it up so we don't have any more issues, so we can get it moving on.
Are there any, I mean, the back and forth, is there anything in disagreement, or is it just a matter of delayed process?
I mean, I would say, and Eric can comment on this as well. I mean, I would say that RIDOT continues to ask us information that we've typically seen in the past. PAR has, made the agreement. We actually approved a small extra for them, if you recall, about 2 months ago to do that activity. So Eric, I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's any disagreement with the work we need to do. It's just a matter of getting it done, correct?
Yeah, there's additional questions that come out of every review. So they've requested additional surveys for the plat plan. So this is something that, we approved one previously. They did the survey as it was laid out. They reviewed the survey. They requested an additional review of the plat plan, which we need to have the design team do that service as well to continue the process.
They just want to make sure that our project drains off better than the bridge project that they did on Pawtucket Avenue.
This is more on loop easements. So this is for your abutter in the Shaw's Plaza. But yes.
Joel just wants an opportunity to comment on the bridge.
Yeah, that's it.
That's actually the only reason why we leave this on the agenda.
Seriously, but I don't know. It's like a race for the most dysfunctional department of the state of Rhode Island, and it's like a horse race. You can just call it out as they keep running and the names change.
All right, moving on. We added a new update this month. I'm not sure if we've talked about this with the entire building committee, but I know we talked about the process during design. So we worked with both the design team and National Grid on their rebate program. And they got back to us, I think about 2 months ago with their response. They did a complete overview of our plans, how our plans compared against the energy efficiency thresholds and requirements that all new buildings have to meet. And what came out of that whole energy audit and analysis was the amount of incentive that potentially can come back to the district and the project. So this chart you see in front of you here is a snapshot out of their correspondence back to the team. Jim and his team have gone through the kind of the backup data to confirm that in fact comply with what National's assumptions were. So the really good news is the project is performing well above what the baseline standard is And that is going to result in, if we complete the project per the plan and spec, and subject to some hold they'll have in the initial tranche of funding, the district can be eligible up to that amount there of about $383,000. And that includes a breakdown of electrical incentives, which you see is that almost 1 million kilowatt hours at that incentive amount of 35 cents per kilowatt hour, which results in the $370,000 of rebate. And then an additional $17,000 in gas rebates based on the therms that we're calculating being saved. This we will go through, like I said, there's a full audit process that they do at the end of the project. They will review all of our requisitions. They'll specifically hone in on the items that contribute to the rebate. So they'll look and see, okay, you said you were going to buy these type of light fixtures, high energy efficiency. Did you buy them? Show them to me. And then their team or their third-party consultant will actually come out and do a full audit on the property. Usually what they'll do is they'll deliver an initial tranche of funds of about 80%, and then they'll hold back 20% as a process. So this is great news. We had just to compare another large size project for the veterans home, I think we had about a $240,000 incentive that came back to the state, plus or minus. I do know that, and we've talked about this offline, that this RIDE will take this number off of their reimbursement. So it's an unfortunate, the upside is we're getting this great reimbursement back, or this great incentive back. The downside is that RIDE will actually subtract it out of the total funds that they'll return to the town based on the reimbursement ratio. So
and Sam, just to note that was a piece of information that was intentionally vague until we pushed for that clarification. Is that a fair statement? Well, maybe not intentionally, but it was vague. It was definitely a question going in.
Yeah, I mean, we had heard it on other projects, and I know we weren't able to confirm it down in Barrington, but I believe Craig got confirmation back from Mario Carreno that in fact that was the case. So, depending on how you look at it, I would still say if you just take the project budget out of it, or excuse me, the reimbursement out of it, this is
right.
This is technically a credit to the total project cost.
Sure.
But when you take in your reimbursement, obviously that's a different way to look at it.
Sam, and we may have covered this, early in the design, and this might be a question more for Jim, but is there an estimate as far as the efficiency of this building compared to our operating efficiency? And
yeah, I doubt we did an energy audit on the existing, Jim, right?
I don't have any information on the existing, no.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious. I mean, I know it's it's going to be substantially more efficient. It would just curious to know if there was some kind of figure to put to it. But okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was anything. I don't think there was anything like that even in the Jacobs report where they did any kind of efficiency assessments. But I mean, between envelope and systems alone,
Right.
You can imagine that there's probably a pretty significant divide between the two.
Right.
So that's good news for the team, good news for the project, and I think it's a great another great selling point for the community that you guys are able to achieve such a high energy efficiency rating. You put that right there in line with all the other great amenities that the project's providing back to the community. Commissioning updates, these are continuous and ongoing now, and when we look at the 4-week look ahead and kind of the schedule where we are in general, our commissioning agent is pretty much fully involved on a weekly basis, especially as all the envelope activities are going on, as we're starting to ramp up with a lot of the systems work. So there's constant communication between the on-site team, the commissioning agent, and the construction team and the subs specific to those activities that they're reviewing on a weekly basis. Project milestones, again, we'll look at the look ahead in a couple minutes, but we've got major activities starting up in July, including miscellaneous metals, the painting of all the structural steel, and interior finishes believe it or not, are actually going to be starting just a month and a half from now. And for those folks that kind of go on the regular walks, you can kind of see the condition of the interior space. And it's hard to believe that we're already there, but we will be kind of moving into migrating into those activities, just as we start into the fall. A new section that we're including in the update to the building committee is our authorizations to proceed. So with the approval of the GMP last month, now what we do is we review on a weekly basis with the procurement group, as well as with the AE team, the OPM team, and Gilbane, the changes that we know will be rolling through the project. Some of these were actually, if you recall, when we approved the GMP, they kind of all changes so that the document could kind of remain static. So there were several that were kind of pending and waiting for once we got to the approval. So some of those have gone through the approval process already. Those are the ones that you see kind of that happened towards the end of last month. And then we have this rolling activity that's going through in the early part of July. You'll see some of these things have $0 value to them because there is no cost associated with them, but they do technically constitute a change. So even if if it's a deduct, or if it's no cost, or if it's an added cost, those will come through this process to ensure that we're tracking all this activity and tracking any changes to what was the intended design and what is actually out in the field. So 4-week look ahead. So, and then I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. I know there's a lot of data on here now, but if you can kind of look at for lack of a better term, the density on this chart right now, and we've condensed it down into one page just to kind of, this is the look ahead from the beginning of last week, pretty much through the end of the month. You'll see on here, we've got 14 trades, either fully mobilized on site or in the process of mobilizing on site. And you can see by how, if you kind of go through the week by week, DeGregorio site work, all major activities around site work are going on. They're actually starting to look at or starting to work on even the stadium in the back, starting to work through some of the grading activities that are happening there now that the wall is wrapping up along the back of the property. Marguerite and their major concrete activities are actually starting to wind down. Meanwhile, we've got still major work going on with, the steel erection, although it's starting to taper. Capco with their miscellaneous metals activity is ongoing. HCAR going through the fireproofing spraying that's going on everywhere. We're looking at pictures of that. Brunca is doing all the air vapor barrier, so that's all the kind of the waterproofing of the building. Roofing is fully underway. Interior framing, again, if folks have been walking through the building, we're really starting to see a lot of the rooms take shape, especially back in zones 1 and 2. And then even full MEP, so Sully Mac on site, they're doing their rough-in. Delta Mechanical, they're on site. They've been doing a lot of work over the past few weeks. And what it gets us to is looking to see some of the things that we're starting to see out there. So all the way to this level of detail that you see, I believe, Eric, this is on the south-facing wall, the split-face CMU. Is that correct? We lost Eric, but
someone muted me. I'm sorry. That's on the south elevation facing the auditorium.
Yep. You can see the air water resistant barrier going up on a lot of the exterior walls now. That's that layer that goes on the outside of all the interior construction. You can see even some of the detailed fiber cement board. It's going to give you some of the articulation for state roofing assemblies happening throughout the building. This is on top of the
gymnasium.
And then, still ongoing with some slab work, but that's really starting to wrap up, except on the north end of the building in zone 4. Fireproofing being applied to all of the structure and the underside of the decking. And then, these pictures that I always think were just kind of the west and east elevations. So you really kind of appreciate as all this work is starting to progress from south to north, from auditorium end all the way up to the gymnasium end, and all the work that's kind of filling in as you go through there. And then here on this east elevation, kind of working in the reverse direction with the auditorium down here, and then working all the way up to the gym on this end. And then our two smaller but not insignificant south and north elevations. So a lot of work, a lot of stuff going on out there. Busier and busier. Eric, I know when we walked with Carlos last week, we think about how many construction personnel are on site right now, plus or minus.
We're averaging just over 180 right now on average.
And we think we'll ramp up to a 250 number when we're at once we get up to that next plateau.
Yeah, we'll level off between 225 and 250 on a daily basis for many months.
Okay. So that's just a general overview of the status where we are in the project. Project budget. So with the final GMP in place, if you recall at last month's meeting, we still held the 75% estimate numbers as well as the target numbers that we were holding for the overall hard cost, which was 157.2. So what we've done is we've added in a new column into the budget so that we can start to look at any adjustments that we make throughout the process. So right now for this month, I've only made one adjustment because I wanted to take and have us understand kind of the tracking of the savings that we've realized against the 75 estimate through the budget process. So just to walk everybody through, and it's really focused on the hard cost up top. But 157.2 was our target. We came in at 154,388,087. So that was a savings against the estimate of $2.8 million. We have a series of alternates that the procurement working group is going to be going through. So I haven't made any adjustments for those alternates yet. So what we've done is we've dropped that savings, that 2.8 down, and basically to the owner's construction fee, which was originally set at 3.9 million. That's going to put our owner's construction contingency up at 6.7 million. So what you'll see, and I'll just scroll to the bottom here, is there's no net change in the overall project budget, but there's these internal adjustments that we're going to be starting to make as we go through, really on almost a weekly basis, but we'll report out to this group on a monthly basis as we either accept change orders. And if you remember, the ATP is which authorizes the contractor to do additional work. A group of ATPs will roll up into a change order, and then that change order will get approved, and that will adjust the contract total. So as we saw the ATPs up in the upper part of the memo, those are not incorporated yet into the total contract value. Once that happens, we'll get a change order, and then you would see that adjustment here where you would see the 6.7 be reduced down by whatever that value is. So we'll also start to track a separate contingency log so we can see where those dollars are going up or down throughout the project. And what we'll do once we process as well is we are going to work offline with the AIM, Elves Gilbane, and the ownership leadership team, and start to look at, are there other line items that we would suggest that we take some of these savings, the 2.8 less whatever alternates we choose, and do we want to make adjustments down into some of these other key line items? And a good example would be, say, the FF&E, the overall FF&E budget. If you recall, during 75%, because we were trying to hit certain numbers, we did make some strategic reductions in some of those line items. So as Jim and his team ramp up with the FF&E activities, we'll want to continue to watch this number and decide, should we put additional dollars in there now, or do we wait, know that it's going to be protected in contingency? And then but know that we've kind of earmarked those dollars. Another important earmark that we talked about was one of the reasons why the 2.8 million is kind of to the good on the budget is that our demo and abatement number came in approximately $1 million under what the original projection was. So we talked about it in our meeting last month, and we've continued to talk about it. Would we want to do a kind of a carve out of the owner's construction contingency and set aside additional dollars specifically for those abatement activities that we know may come up, because they typically do once that contractor starts to get into the existing building and starts to take it down. So those are going to be some of the strategic ways we're going to map out these dollars. And then obviously always coming back to the ownership team and to the building committee and letting everybody understand kind of the path that we're suggesting, and then kind of going through and managing the budget that way. That is the conclusion of the report.
Any questions on that from the group?
Hey, Sam, John McNamee. I haven't been able to make a lot of the meetings, so I don't know if you guys have discussed this before. Is there a CM contingency in
There
that?
is.
But there is.
Yep.
So
Only 2%, John.
okay. So do you make, when you're looking at these change orders, are you then allocating those between what might be considered to be a CM issue versus a owner's contingency?
Yeah, we certainly are, John, and I'm sure you've seen it up in Lincoln, and you probably saw it in North Providence as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so every time a change comes across, we will have a vigorous debate with our team about whether something is deemed in scope or out of scope.
Okay.
And a lot of things are, there's plenty of out of scope stuff, and then there's also in scope stuff. So
Oh, sure. Yep.
we do pretty extensive review, which is sometimes why the approval of the ATPs takes a little bit longer, because Jim and his team are going through. They're going back through the documents. Our team is evaluating it kind of more comprehensively before it actually gets in front of everybody. But yes, we definitely take that full review when we're going through it.
So will that be part of the reporting process to the building committee?
So, and I can show you here. Let's see here. Sorry for scrolling, but so the designation under the description is OS is out of scope, IS would be in scope. So they'll come across initially as OS or IS, and then we have that debate, and then whether they change or not, it's subject to that review process.
Great. Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
Sam, it's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but everything was out of scope prior to the acceptance of the GMP.
Correct. So any changes that occurred between a bid package being approved and the GMP were rolled up and included in the total GMP cost, except for anything that if it happened after that cutoff date, then those were the ones that are starting to roll in now.
Now the fun begins.
Yeah, but the majority of the changes, though, that were pre-GMP were all captured in that and rolled up. And Gilbane provided a complete summary of all that activity, so we could go back, verify it against all the spreadsheets that were carrying on all those activities, so we were sure that there wasn't any either miscounting or double counting of anything. And John, just to clarify on your question, so Gilbane's construction contingency is 2.6 million, and that's included in the 154.3 that is the total GMP value.
Great. Thanks, Sam.
Sam, could you call up that budget page one more time?
Yep. 1 second.
And just for my clarification, in the future, will we be just looking at contingency as a total of 6,757, or will it still be broken out as with the adjustment line and the owner contingency line, or will you just go with a combination?
Yeah,
and
so
deduct from that?
That's a good question. So what we'll see is, Manny, we'll see movement. So as we accept a change order, and assuming that it comes out of this contingency item, you're going to see this value increase and that value go down. So you'll see that interplay. The goal is that at the end of the day, the bottom line doesn't move.
Right.
So, your source for changes. And what Gilbane provides is in their requisition, they have the total contract value and then they list all their change orders below. So we're able to track against that. And then what we'll also do is we would have a separate tracking spreadsheet that would show how this number is adjusting upward or downward depending on what the impact of those changes are.
Well, I don't think we're too concerned about the downward adjustments. It's the upwards that
Yeah.
everybody's worried about.
Right.
But Gene's on top of that, so we don't have to worry about that.
It certainly is. Yeah, and
Leaving that up to Joel.
We can do that. We'll have a similar tracking tool that will, again, I apologize for scrolling so quickly, but we'll be able to give you kind of this level summary, always with the ability to drill down if there's any questions by the committee members.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it.
Just one other comment. I know Jim and his team reported out on their FF&E, kind of the launching of the FF&E process. We expect that that's really going to start to get underway in the next 30 days. So I think in August, we'll be able to start to at least give you guys a little bit more clear of a roadmap as Jim and his team ramp up with that. Obviously, we'll be working directly with them. Dan is actually going to be quarterbacking that on our side. Dan and Eric will be, as Jim and his team kind of ramp up with this another layer of kind of programming review, making sure that we're connecting with the right folks that Kathy wants to put us in touch with. So those will be some topics that we can look forward to talking about.
Okay, and just for the for the public's knowledge, that those folks that we speak of are typically our educators and administrators within the district that are having input into the details, the tools, the different resources and the setups. So I get asked that question often, so I just want to kind of reiterate that this definitely is a project that is bringing in all stakeholders, and Jim and the team at AI3 have been very thorough and accessible to those folks. So I appreciate it. Anything else? Any other questions on the OPM update? All right. Next is Craig. You are up with invoices.
Got it, ready to go. For the month of June 2020, the following invoices are slated for your approval this evening. AI3 Basic Services, $122,474.84. AI3 Reimbursable Services for June 2020, $9,825.20. Gilbane Building Company, June 2020, $8,907,510.87. That's a big one. Peregrine Group, June 2020, $59,000. Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management for a permit fee of $100. Filch Engineering, June 2020, $20,415. And then finally, Stephen Turner Inc., June 2020, $5,480.75 for a grand total of $9,124,806.66.
Eric, Craig, can you confirm that there's nothing in the Gilbane invoice COVID related?
I will look. I
didn't see anything.
I had looked earlier.
Eric, you want to respond to that?
And Eric had looked too, I think, right?
So Gene, yeah. So the COVID is an owner allowance, and that owner allowance has not been drawn down yet at all.
Yeah.
So that $1 million still stays as $1 million in this payment requisition.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve.
I second.
A motion by Mr. Piola, second by Superintendent Crowley. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye. That was an aye, not an opposed.
So that's all in favor
I vote present.
with Mr. Oakland voting present on the Gilbane. Would that be correct, Gene, or would that be on all?
On the Gilbane invoice.
Duly noted. And next we will go to the next meeting date is what I have
Oh,
for August. What?
Before we go there, I just want you to know that the General Treasurer of Rhode Island has asked if I would go on a town meeting on Thursday evening, this Thursday at 5 o'clock. We'll be taping it Thursday at 1:30. And the main purpose for my invitation is an update on our project, and he wants to discuss the school bond issues, construction in schools, but an update on the East Providence project. And after I committed, Mr. McNamee, you'll be happy to know that the other invitee is the mayor from North Providence. That would be Mayor Charles Lombardo is going to be on this phone call as well.
That's
On this virtual-
Lombardi.
Whatever.
That's Lombardi.
Lombardi, whatever. Is going to be on that virtual meeting as well. So we're at 5 o'clock. Don't ask me where it is or anything. I really have no idea, but I bet he's been going around the state having these town meetings.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So we are, is it August 10th, right? Is the next
Excuse me,
second Monday.
Joel.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Joel. I think you missed the minutes.
I did, didn't I? Thank you. So yes, we do have item 4, consider and vote to approve the minutes for June 8th of 2020 and June 22nd of 2020. Thanks, Sharon.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of June 8th and June, is it 20th?
22nd, yes.
22nd, thank you.
Thank
Second.
you. We have a motion by Mr. Enos and a second by Mr. Vinatero. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so both minutes for June 8th and June 22nd of 2020 are approved. Now, the next meeting date. We have August 10th.
That's Victory Day.
Did we win?
That's a holiday, kind of.
Holidays.
So is there what's the committee's piece
It's
on
still-
that?
It's just a Rhode Island thing. You can still have it.
Is anyone that has any conflicts with that date?
Nope.
Your OPM team has it on the schedule.
All right. So if something pops up in the very near future, from anyone on the team that is significant, creates an issue, just let myself or Nate or superintendent know. So otherwise we'll have it set for 6:30 on August 10th, Monday, August 10th. And I think Sandy's the one that's kind enough to, is it Sandy or Sam that sends out those invites?
Sandy.
Yeah, so thank you. All right. Are there any other discussion points?
No, Sam, can we just touch base tomorrow morning, you and I? Sam,
Yes.
okay, just touch base tomorrow morning with some, important issues for
Sure.
Thursday. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Sam, we're gonna check and see if there's contingency money to upgrade your internet service so that you don't keep stuttering during.
I'm sorry.
I moved To adjourn.
Tough group, Sam.
All right. So, I'll accept that motion to adjourn from Mr. Bradner.
You can. I'm not on the committee.
Listen, after taking a dig like that, I was gonna expend you there. Do we have a motion to approve, to adjourn?
Yes,
I'll make a motion.
So motion by Mr. Amoroso and a second by Superintendent Crowley. All in
terrific.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anybody wants to